ready. Okay, so we're going to take this function and divide it by this x minus 2. Do you remember the other day when we did it with long division? We did it with synthetic. So kind of like a review of that. Okay, so I'm going to do this using synthetic. Remember, we're going to change the sign of this guy. And then we're going to say 3, 8, and -4.
Oh, I forgot what you said.
We bring down the first term, multiply, add, multiply,
Yeah, I forgot.
add. Okay, so run that back. Okay, change the sign of this guy, put him in jail. List out the coefficient. Brought down the first term,
Multiplied by the one in jail.
multiplied by the jail, and then add going down.
They're not going down.
Yep. So we're gonna drop it by one exponent. That's gonna be at 3x plus 14. And then this guy over here is our remainder. So we're gonna divide by x minus 2. Aiden, what's up, baby? Okay, so once you finish, you can look up on the board. Okay, check your work. Okay. Because I'm good at math.
I'm not.
Oh, really quick, what did we get on this one right here? On the first one?
3x plus 14. Oh, wait, no, that's why it's so sorry. 3x.
Good job.
3x plus,
14
okay.
plus 24. Goodbye.
Over x minus 2. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna find f of 2. So what that means is we're gonna write what f is down. Okay, this is f. Okay, so we're gonna have 3x squared plus 8x minus 4. And instead of having these x's, I'm gonna put in 2. 2 is gonna be in there. So instead of the x's, I put in a 2. Okay. Now I'm going to simplify. So 2 squared is going to give me 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 8 times 2 is 16. And then minus 4. So 12 plus 16 is 28. 28 minus 4 is what? Okay, what do you notice? It's a remainder.
Oh,
Okay, so really quick, when I have this x minus 2, if I change the sign, that's going to give me a positive 2, right? If I put 2 in, that's going to give me my remainder. Okay, go ahead and take a moment, try number 2. Take -1, plug it in.
there's no remainder that we zero.
Okay. Take a moment, take -1 and plug it in really quick. I'll give you a second. All right, so what did we get when we divided this out on the previous page? X squared.
1x squared minus 4x plus 10 minus 2. And then plus 10 minus 2. And then x plus 2.
Okay, and when we plug in -1 into this equation,
Oh, it's definitely not smart.
when you simplify, this is gonna give me -6. This is gonna give me -2. Oh, that's my remainder, right? That's all I need you to know. That if you took -1 and plugged it in, it's gonna give you the remainder. If you divide it by x plus 1, you would get a remainder of -2. This is important because it tells you whether or not something is a factor. Because if you get a remainder of 0 when you plug in, then it's a factor. Okay, which we're going to see that on the next page. Okay, if a polynomial, and I need you to write this gray box down. If a polynomial is divided by x minus a, then the remainder tells you the value of a. This means the points a comma whatever the number is,
B.
sure, is on the polynomial. So looking at this graph, what do you expect get when you divide g of x by these various things. Okay, so let me show you the first one and then it gets easier after that. So if I have this, I'm going to switch the sign to -5. What's y when x is -5? 0. So the remainder would be 0. Okay, so no, you're doing that for each one of these. Yeah, you're doing it for each one. The remainder of 0. There's no, it's just remainder of 0. No, girl, it's 0. It's the number 0. Good girl, just put it down. Just put it down. Okay, take a second, try those. There's another Taylor Emmons out there coming for you. All right, we got -3. No, 1, 2, 3. Okay, what's our y? 6. Okay.
Oh, it's a graph.
Now this one, this is x is 0. So when x is 0, what's y? Okay. Now we're switching the sign on this one. 4. So when x is 4, what's our y? What? Like -3.5-ish. We'll run with it. Okay. And then when x is 6, what is our y? 6 is kind of off the page. Could we figure out what 6 is?
Probably about
Yeah,
7, 10.
probably like 10. Okay. Look at it this way. Look at when oh, I lost my train of thought. Let me come back. It's off the page, but we could write the equation for this one if we wanted to. Don't worry about that right now, though. Okay. All right. So now, looking at only the x-intercept. So that's where it's crossing the x-axis. Look at it. We've got what x-intercept? -5, 0, and 4. We're gonna get there. We're not there yet. Okay, so the factor, so if we write it out as a factor, that would be x plus 5. This one would just be x, because if you said plus 0, okay, and then x minus 4. The remainder for all of these are going to be what? Because they cross the x-axis. Okay, so here's like the big thing. When you divide a polynomial by its factor, you get a remainder of 0. Write that down. Write that last line down. So on this one, okay, we're trying to determine if it's a factor or not. So all we got to do is we're going to switch the sign of this guy and plug it into the equation. When we plug this in, we're trying to see if we get 0. So when we do that, we get 9 plus 6 minus 13. So what's that going to give us? Is 12 equal to 0?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a factor. Can you try the second one? Okay, so we're going to switch the sign.
Oh, bad.
-4, and then we're going to plug in. Which I'll get after you plug in -4.
0.
Okay, so is this a factor?
Yes.
Okay, so x plus 4 is a factor.
Yay.
So we get 2.
Oh.
Okay. Now, down at the bottom, we have this statement. This is actually how the remainder theorem actually reads. I just want you to be comfortable with this notation. What this is saying is for a polynomial, you got a number a. Remainder on the division of x minus a is p of a, which equals 0, if and only if x minus a is a factor of p of x. This is just a fancy way of saying, hey, yo, if you take this number, plug it in, you get 0. X minus whatever that number is a factor. Yeah, good stuff. That's it. It's not hard. What?
Right.
So on this one, what you're going to do is this has x equals -3. Okay, so they like to trip y'all up. You don't have to change the sign on this guy. You're just going to plug him straight in. Okay, don't change the sign when it's written like this. Yeah. Okay. Also on the next one, you're not changing the sign. You're just gonna take this guy and you're gonna plug him in for all these x's.
I want you to find one that says X plus
X minus or X plus. Yeah. Okay, take a second, try those two. Okay, so when you plug in, remember, you're not changing the sign. You are not changing the sign on how this is written right here. So if it says X equals, you are not changing the sign. Okay, when you plug in, what do you get?
I got
I get 0. So that would mean that there is a 0 at X equals -3, but there is a factor at X plus 3. Does that make sense?
Wait,
So there is a 0 at X equals -3. There is a factor at X plus 3. I need you to be comfortable with these two words because they're two different things. Factor is when it's written with an X in front of it. 0 means that it equals that number. Okay, there is a difference between those two words. Okay, now when you plug in on the second one, okay, when you plug in on the second one, what did you get?
1,040.
huh?
Did y'all get that? Drake, what'd you get? Huh?
Like your problem when you put that when you change the X, it's like yeah.
Okay. She plugged in, bro.
Look, so
Oh.
you have it right here, and then you just define y.
Oh. Cool. 1,040. So does that mean that X equals 4 is a 0? So X equals 4 is not a 0. And X minus 4 is not a factor. Okay, that's what we're getting from this. Which of the following items does not belong, and state how you know which one does not belong? Why do you say that?
It was already on.
Okay, so she said this one doesn't belong because X equals 5 and the rest of them, X equals -5 and the rest of them all equal X equals 5. Yeah, these all go together. Cool. Okay. All right, let's go. All right, so when we switch to, all right, ready? We got X minus 2. We're gonna switch this to a +2. We're gonna plug that in.
I probably did.
Now, you could have done this through synthetic division. That's totally okay too, if that's the only way you remember. But if you plug this in, what are you gonna get?
0.
Is it? Because I don't actually know. Okay, so yeah, this is gonna be a factor of X minus 2. Okay, on the next one, same thing, you're gonna plug in. Okay, when you do this, what do you get? What is it? -4, so not a factor. Okay, on the last one, you're gonna plug in. What do you get? 8 minus 4 minus 2 minus 2. That gives me 0, right?
Yeah.
So it is a factor. The biggest thing is the notation. So knowing the difference between f of 3, x minus 3, and x equals 3. Those are really important. Okay, f of 3. Yeah, pro. Okay, that's okay. I can live with that. All right. Now, really quick, write these two down. Okay, we know that x minus 2 is a factor. Now we're taking the information that we've learned. All right, ready? This is the hard part. Okay, so we learned the easy part. Now it's going to get a little bit more challenging. So we've established that x minus 2 is a factor. So we're going to use the information to find all the zeros of the polynomial. Yep, zeros. Okay, so what you're going to do with this is why we like synthetic division. Okay, so when we switch this sign and we actually synthetically divide this guy, when we do this, and I'm going to do it pretty quickly, I'm going to bring down the first term, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. You see how we get a 0? Then we're going to bring it down by 1 term. Okay, we're left with 3x cubed plus 2x. Watch this part, ready? What can we take out from this? Just a regular x, right? Just x. So we're gonna pull out an x, and we're left with 3x squared plus 2. Now that we have this, we can also find the zeros. So we're gonna set this equal to 0, so x is gonna equal 0. We're gonna set this one equal to 0 and solve. So that's gonna give us positive and negative square root of 2/3. And there's gonna be an I out front. Okay, I know, I did that pretty quickly. Okay, so these are gonna be our zeros. How many zeros do we have in total? False. We have 4. Because we divided by this 2 up at the top, right?
Oh,
So we have 4 zeros. Can you try this one? Yes, you can. You can at least synthetically divide. Okay, so we're gonna switch the sign. We're gonna list out our coefficients. So 1, -1, -1, -2. We're gonna bring down the first term, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So it's a factor. Now we're gonna take down the exponent, the x squared plus 1x plus 1. Now, can I take x squared plus 1x plus 1 and factor it?
You can divide it by 1.
Divided by 1. Thanks, guys. Thanks. If for some reason you're not so great at this whole like solving the factoring or doing any of that, watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go into Desmos. Oh, thanks, guys. Okay. Desmos carries, man. Desmos carries. Okay, so we go in here, okay, and we're gonna have squared plus 1x plus 1. Notice how it doesn't cross the x-axis. So what does that tell us automatically? It's gonna have an imaginary solution. Another way that you can solve for this, okay, another way you can solve for this is by using the quadratic formula. So y'all remember the quadratic formula?
It's like,
Plus
or minus.
Wow. Or you would score plus 5 divided by 2.
A,
2A.
2A. 2A.
Thank you. Okay, so with that being said, okay, what you can do is you can substitute in to that equation. Okay. Yes, you do. Desmos is gonna carry. You substitute, well, okay. Okay. Okay, so for instance, ready? You had this x squared plus 1x plus 1, right? That's the original function. 1 is A, 1 is B, and 1 is C. Go figure. There's one for everything. So we're gonna take the equation, we're just gonna substitute in what we just got. Oh. And then times 1 times 1. And then times 1. Okay, so what does it say? Okay, so if that's the case, because it's going to have that complex solution, right? We're gonna just write it out and simplify. So what's 1 squared? 1 minus 4 over 2. What's 1 minus 4? Okay, so this is -1 plus or minus square root of -3 divided by 2. If we have a negative underneath the radical, what does that mean? Okay, so it's gonna be x is equal to -1 plus or minus I square root of 3 divided by 2. And then how many solutions or how many zeros does this one have?
You'll have 3.
Okay, and one of them is going to be real, and two of them are going to be imaginary. Yep, they fake. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're going to take that 2 and you're gonna substitute it in. I'm sorry, not 2. You're gonna take 2 and you're going to synthetically divide the f of 2. We're not gonna switch the sign, because remember, if it has an f in front, don't switch the sign. We're gonna take 2, put them in jail, and then we're gonna list out the coefficient. Yep. We're gonna bring down the first term, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and then we're gonna take it down 1 exponent. So x squared minus 3x minus 18. So we know that this is going to be a 0, right? Now, it wants us to find the other zeros. So we're going to factor x squared minus 3x minus 18. Now, we can actually use the big X method, or we could use the box method. It depends on what you want to do. Okay, so you want to do the box? Let's do the box. Let's do the box. Okay, so box is going to be first term goes in the first box, last term goes in the last box, and this middle term is what you're going to add together in these 2 boxes. So this is going to have x here, okay, but I need something that multiplies together to get me -18, but adds together to get me -3. Multiplies to get -18, but adds together to get me -3. -6 and 3. So when I take out the greatest common factor, plus, I'm going to get x minus 6 times x plus 3. When I solve, I'm going to get x equals 6 and x equals -3. I'm going to take a second so you can catch up.
Wait,
So now we're,
what's there?
what goes where?
What is that?
This is x equals 6, x equals 3. That's our solution.
Thank you.
So you took the
Negative
ones
3.
from the factor over there, put it there, and remove
Yep.
the x?
Yep. So now we're going,
I'm gonna stop.
Yeah. change the signs. Okay, so we're gonna have 2. We're gonna graph it, -3, and then 6. Now, this is a cube function. That means that it's gonna start down here at the bottom, go up, pass through, and then go back up. Why do you always make funny of my drawings?
Stop making them mad.
Make y'all draw on this. See, I'm gonna be like, this is hard. All right, let's talk about this one. Ready? Eat fish. Will do. Okay, so. Okay, wait on y'all. Okay, we have this graph, right? Okay, and we have this function down here at the bottom. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so where does it cross the x-axis? -2 and -3. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take -2 and we're gonna synthetically divide this. So we have, we're gonna, what?
Are you gonna do it for -4 too?
We're gonna do it for -3 is
Alright,
the second. Yep. Okay, so first we're gonna do it with -2. We're gonna list out our coefficients. Remember, if it's missing a term, you're gonna put in a 0 x squared, right? So we're gonna list out coefficients 1, 3, 0, 8, 24. I'm gonna bring down the first term. Multiply. Add. Multiply. Add. Multiply. Add. Multiply.
If I was nice.
Add. Okay. So now this is going to become x to the third, x squared minus 2x plus 12. However, we have another 0. That 0 is -3. We're going to do this exact same process with -3. And now we're going to use these coefficients that are down here. So go ahead and take a moment and try to synthetically divide this one. Okay, so we're going to multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Thank you, Ellen. Okay, so now we're going to take it down one more exponent. So that's going to be x squared minus 2x plus 4. Now, can we factor this guy? Can you multiply two things together to get you 4, but add together to get you -2?
No.
No. So this is going to be, wow, sorry, set you up for that one. This is going to be a complex solution, which means that you're going to have to use the quadratic formula in order to solve. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would suggest going into Desmos, and plugging in those numbers. So B is -2. That's gonna make that a +2. Times 4 times A is 1, C is 4. 2 times A.
-4
So this is gonna give us 4 minus 16 underneath the radical. Okay, so coming back in here. Sorry. When I plug this into the quadratic formula, this is gonna give me 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared, which is 4, minus 4 times 1 times 4 over 2 times 1. So this will simplify to 2 plus or minus 4 minus 16 over 2. So this will simplify down to 2 plus or minus the square root of -12 divided by 2, which will simplify down to 2 plus or minus I square root of 12 divided by 2. Now you could simplify this a little bit more, but we're just gonna leave it right here.
You can't put it.